You get up in the middle of the night and you know exactly what happens next. You reach for your phone, the screen blasts light into your eyes, and you squint your way to the bathroom using nothing but muscle memory and a faint glow. Every shape in your house dissolves into vague, uncertain outlines the second the lights go off. And here's the part that should genuinely bother you. A house cat curled up on your couch could walk that same dark hallway without hesitation, without fear, without needing a single photon of extra light. Somewhere in your evolutionary past, your ancestors lost an ability that most of the animal kingdom still has, and they lost it while living in a world with no electricity, no streetlights, and predators that hunted specifically at night. So the question is simple. If seeing in the dark is such an obvious survival advantage, why did evolution leave humans nearly blind the moment the sun goes down? Let's start with the biology, because the answer isn't that human eyes are broken. It's that they're built for a completely different job. Here's what doesn't make sense until you think about it. Your eyes actually do have the equipment for low light vision, cells called rod photoreceptors that detect dim light, and you have around 120 million of them. The problem isn't quantity, it's what you're missing entirely, a structure called the tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind the retina found in cats, deer, and dozens of nocturnal species, which bounces light back through the eye a second time, essentially giving those animals two chances to catch every available photon. That's why a cat's eyes glow when you shine a flashlight at them in the dark. Yours don't glow at all because you never had that mirror installed in the first place. Here's the twist nobody expects. Humans didn't lose this feature. Our primate ancestors never evolved it strongly to begin with because they were busy solving a completely different problem. That different problem was color, and this is where the story gets genuinely fascinating. Around 30 to 40 million years ago, according to research on primate vision led by biologist Gerald Jacobs at the University of California, Santa Barbara, our early primate ancestors evolved trichromatic color vision, the ability to see a full range of reds, greens, and blues, almost certainly to spot ripe, reddish fruit against a green jungle canopy, and to judge which leaves were young, nutritious, and safe to eat. But color vision and night vision are, at a cellular level, in direct competition for space on your retina. Building more color-sensing cone cells meant sacrificing rod density and light-gathering efficiency. Your ancestors made a trade tens of millions of years before they ever stood upright, and you're still living with the terms of that deal every single time you stub your toe in a dark room. Think about that for a second. You didn't inherit bad night vision. You inherited a specific bet your ancestors made about which sense mattered more. So, if that trade happened so early, why didn't later human evolution correct it once our ancestors moved into more dangerous, predator-filled landscapes? This is where the story takes its sharpest turn because the answer isn't really about eyes at all, it's about fire. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, studied by researchers including Francesco Berna in 2012, shows controlled fire use dating back roughly 1 million years, and by the time Homo sapiens fully emerged, fire wasn't occasional. It was central to daily survival. Here's what nobody talks about. Once your ancestors could reliably create and maintain light after dark, the evolutionary pressure to develop better night vision essentially disappeared. Why spend millions of years slowly re-engineering the eye when you could solve the exact same problem in a single generation with a burning branch? That's not a biological failure. That's a technological shortcut so effective it made the biological upgrade unnecessary. Now here's the part that should genuinely surprise you because it reframes what darkness actually meant to your ancestors. A 2011 study published by researchers including Vera Weisbecker, examining primate brain and sensory evolution, suggests that as human ancestors leaned harder on daytime social behavior, tool use, and complex group coordination, evolution prioritized a completely different kind of low-light survival strategy. Not sharper eyes, but sharper ears, and a far more advanced sense of danger recognition through sound and memory of terrain. Human hunter-gatherers didn't wander blindly through pitch-black landscapes hoping their eyes would adjust. They built deep, detailed mental maps of their territory during daylight, learned the specific sounds of specific predators, and used fire and group vigilance to control the one variable they couldn't outsee: the dark itself. Here's the insight that flips the whole assumption on its head. Your ancestors didn't need better eyes because they built better strategy instead. Let's zoom out for a second because there's something bigger happening underneath all of this. Every problem the darkness created for your ancestors, the inability to spot a predator's eyes glowing in the brush, the impossibility of navigating unfamiliar terrain safely, the sheer vulnerability of being awake while blind, got answered not by rewiring the eye, but by rewiring behavior. Fire pushed back the darkness itself. Social cooperation meant someone was always keeping watch. And the trade your ancestors made tens of millions of years ago, sacrificing night vision for color vision, turned out to matter far less once your species learned to control light on its own terms. Here's the part that should genuinely humble you. The very thing that feels like a biological shortcoming, your inability to navigate a dark room without stubbing your toe, is actually evidence of a completely different survival strategy. One so effective it made an entire category of animal adaptation obsolete for your species. You didn't need glowing eyes when you had glowing fire. That reframes the whole picture, doesn't it? The disadvantage you feel every time you fumble for a light switch might actually be a footprint of one of your species' oldest and most successful traits: better color vision during the day and complete control over darkness at night, achieved through intelligence instead of biology. Zoom out even further, and this becomes almost philosophical. We tend to assume evolution always builds the best version of every ability, as if losing something automatically means falling behind. But your night blindness tells a different story. It tells you that 30 million years ago, your ancestors chose vivid color over sharp night vision, and that millions of years later, when darkness became genuinely dangerous, your species didn't evolve its way out of the problem. It thought its way out instead, using fire, memory, and cooperation to solve in one generation what would have taken evolution millions of years to fix through biology alone. So the next time you fumble through your hallway at 2 a.m., squinting at your phone screen for just enough light to find your way, notice what's actually happening. You're not experiencing a flaw. You're experiencing the exact same trade-off your ancestors made deep in prehistory, one they solved not by changing their eyes, but by changing everything around them. Darkness came at your ancestors with a real dangerous disadvantage. No reflective eyes, no built-in glow, no free pass through the night. And they answered it anyway. Not with better biology, but with fire, memory, and each other. Your ancestors didn't need to see in the dark. They just made sure the dark never stood a chance against them.